Philippe, you've heard Richard's story. What could you have done to help him avoid a situation that's like this?
Well, what happened to Richard's a classic example of how people just don't take their taxes seriously. They think of it as something administrative, like a bill they have to pay. And when they end up in criminal court, they're so surprised, they don't have any idea that not filing a tax return is a criminal offense. Maybe somewhere in the back of their mind, they know that lying on their tax return is a crime, but not filing, to them, it's just an accounting thing. And that's how they get into serious trouble.
From the date of your deadline to file, you're in this gray zone for 1 year. That is called late filing, Patty. All right, there are penalties that are applicable plus interest. When you get beyond that 1 year, you're in a legal zone. You have to deal with the law. You cannot just deal with it in a reporting manner as you would for something that was on time.
That's not common knowledge. It's not something as a taxpayer we normally think of, is it?
Ignorance of the law is not an excuse before the courts. You're supposed to know it. That's just the way it is.
That's what happened to Richard. He didn't know.
That's what happened to Richard. He had the mindset of the back taxes, right? He believed that he could just file his back taxes, and since he couldn't afford to pay it when he should have filed, he thought, well, I'll just file when I can afford. He wasn't even thinking it was criminal in nature and punishable in the criminal courts. So he walked himself into a trap.
Well, let's talk about how, as tax lawyers, DioGuardi tax law would have been able to help Richard solve this situation.
Well, let's say he came to us just after he got the demand to file. We could then have made submissions on his behalf on an Amnesty RX basis, legal submissions, to stop them from proceeding on a criminal charge against him. Now, they don't have to stop, but the thing is we would make submissions to show them why they were wrong and why they shouldn't pursue this course of action. He indicated that he had some problems. He didn't go into the detail of the problems, but we might have been able to work that into our submission. It would have been a lot easier then than after they decided to lay criminal charges.
And what would you have done to help him in your submission? What would you have?
Well, we would have just asked for civil penalties instead of criminal penalties. We would have shown why proceeding criminally would be the wrong way to proceed in his case.
So you could protect him from that
Yes.
terrible courtroom.
And everything that he told us, of course, would be subject to confidentiality. Whereas if he goes and talks to them directly, or he speaks to his accountant, all of that is like talking in the ear of the person who wants to prosecute him.
And he said his accountant was called into court.
That's right. His accountant can be forced to testify against him, but we can't as lawyers. We have lawyer-client confidentiality. Accountants don't have any confidentiality. They can be forced to testify.
So it sounds like you're talking about a bit of a plea bargain, or you're asking for fairness. This guy had some trouble.
Yes.
Cut him a little slack
Exactly.
here, work something out. Is that what you do?
But we do it in a formal way. Now, we do it in a legal way, because sometimes accountants also say, oh, I can ask for fairness. What they do is they send a letter. What good is that? What we do is we make a legal submission with proper backup documents and everything. Let's say he alluded to the fact that he had some problem. He may have had some medical problem. He may have other problems. We will make that as a formal submission. We will also argue on his behalf that there should not be criminal charges. And if they're adamant, then we can take it to the next level and deal with that and have it possibly withdrawn or not proceed.
If I may, Patty, we'll submit it as evidence. And now as evidence, that increases your credibility. For example, if you sign an affidavit,
about his state of mind,
the factual situation, a state of mind, or it could be what he was going through at the time. Yes. Maybe he was in the hospital. Maybe he was going through open heart surgery. His state of mind was such that he couldn't think about that. So there is some excuse. I know I said that the intent is irrelevant, but sometimes there could be some mitigating factors that you can argue.